Hey guys, and welcome to Money Talks News, the podcast. It's a podcast that makes you richer one day at a time. Would you like to have your phone pay you instead of you paying your phone? Well, let's stay right there because that's exactly what's going to happen today. Today we've got a special guest, Dan Novias from Mode Mobile. Dan's going to explain to us a new company that he's founded and is raising money for, and what it's going to do. Well, Dan, I'll let you explain it. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Stacy. So that's essentially what we do. We created something called Earn Phone. We've been able to facilitate over $325 million in earnings and savings back to consumers. Have had tens of millions of people around the world either download our software and transform their smartphone into an Earn Phone, or use one of our devices that we've been able to get into Walmart, Best Buy, Target, a lot of these stores. And it's really taking the I don't know if you've ever done this activity. You know, I don't. My wife and I did it. My wife almost fell out of her chair while she was doing it. But if you ever go to the settings of your phone and then actually type in screen usage and see what your screen time is, I believe I clocked in at about 45 hours, right? And for her, It was something like, it was 45 hours in a week. And hers was like, 42 or something. But if you think about it,
my wife's is probably 45 hours. Mine's like 4.
That's excellent. You know, I do a lot of work on my phone. So, if you look at the social media apps, it breaks down. But the point is, there's 168 hours in a week, 112 of which, if you're sleeping 8 hours a day, you have that are waking. And, people are spending anywhere from 1/3 to 1/2 of their waking lives on their smartphone. If you look at Gen Z, it's actually closer to half. It's like 50 or 60 hours. And so the whole thesis here is you're spending a lot of attention and data. And there's this phone is one of the unique things that very few, it's a commonality, whether you're very wealthy or very poor, generally you have a smartphone, right? And, and there's about 7 billion of them around the world. And so the idea is, is there a new model here that's more equitable? Because, these companies that have been able to make that money off of your attention and your data, they're multi-trillion-dollar businesses.
Sure.
And, ultimately we share that revenue with the consumer. And, we believe that we are the closest company to make the smartphone free or better.
Okay. Now, a couple of questions. First of all, you said you sell both hardware and software. So you can sell me an actual phone, and you can also sell me or give me software. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So basically, think about it this way. Like, most people actually look at our business and they're like, "Are you a hardware company?" And we are. I would not say we are a hardware company. We have built 2 Earn Phones that are hardware. It was a lot of work. It was kind of a crazy thing. A lot of my team did not want to do it. But I had this really big fascination on if we could take our software and you positioned it in a way that, hey, this phone pays you. It's a phone that pays you. It's called Earn Phone. Would there be any different usage that we'd see? And what we saw is people earn 3 times faster. They retain higher. They're earning faster amounts. And I think it's very similar to when you go to a restaurant. If the waiter pours you some tap water versus you ordering a bottle of Saratoga or Evian or something, you're more likely to finish that because you're committed. And so when people see that this phone pays them, they want to learn how it's possible, and then they earn. And so the general idea of what our business model going into the future is more similar to Roku, if you're familiar with the smart TV space, where basically we are starting to license our technology to other phone makers and carriers. So what we envision is an AT&T Earn Phone, or a T-Mobile Earn Phone, or a Samsung Earn Phone, Motorola Earn Phone. The idea is we're creating Earn Phone as a category. We had to create those first 2 devices to really show that it was possible to do, but the vast majority of our user base and consumer base are actually downloading our app.
Yeah, I would think, because most people already have a phone, right?
Exactly.
Unless you want to have 2 phones, but let's understand how this thing works, because I've listened to a podcast or 2 with you on it. And I really wasn't super clear on exactly what happens. Walk me through an example. I've got this software on my phone, and I want my phone to pay me instead of for me paying for my phone. What exactly am I doing? What's happening?
Yeah. So what's essentially happening is, so let's use the example. What are the things that people do on their phone, right? They play music, they listen to music, they play games, they read the news, they charge the phone. I mean, there's these activities that we all do, And so what we're doing is we're kind of tapping into those type of activities. And so, when you're playing a game, say Candy Crush is the game that people a lot of people like to play this game. What is Candy Crush's goal as a business, right? The goal of Candy Crush is to get you to install their service, right? And become a habitual user. And so, right now what they'll do is they'll go to Facebook and they'll pay Facebook to show you a bunch of ads like in your news feed or whatever it might be.
Right,
and eventually you download it. What we'll do is basically we'll talk to Candy Crush and they're like, are you willing to pay for a new consumer? And so say it's $10. So what we'll do is we'll take a portion of that $10 and then we will reward the consumer to pay Candy Crush per minute for a period of a week, right? On a given daily basis. And so what you're doing is you're aligning incentives, almost like loyalty, that you're getting. And now you're getting exposed to new things that you like, right? And you're getting rewarded for it. Candy Crush gets that consumer.
But how exactly, Dan? Okay, in other words, here's what I heard you say. Tell me if I'm wrong. Yeah. Candy Crush pays $10 for a new user.
Yeah.
And you're going to get them that user, and you're going to split that $10 with that user.
Yes.
Well, how are you getting them to sign up for Candy Crush?
The user, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they download our app and then they see these various different offers and opportunities of, hey, like play these games or listen or stream music. Or read this news. At the end of the day, the consumer itself is getting exposed to those opportunities like they would in any app, right? It's like, it's like here's the game section. And then you see, oh, these are all the 20 games that I could play today or get exposed to. And that's how the consumer's finding out about those things.
So I'm opening your app on my phone and I'm seeing what the opportunities are. Is it saying, for example, like if you go to Candy Crush, you'll earn $5? It's not that.
Usually it'll back out. It'll say something around like you can earn X amount of points per minute, or if you hit the certain level milestones, you get X amount of more points. Because we pay everything in points, right? But people can back that out to a certain amount of dollars, essentially, of what they believe that'll be. But that's essentially, that's what it says. And then when you stream music, for example, through our service, it'll basically pay you per minute that the music is streaming.
So now, I have to open the app in order to see what my options are, right? If I don't open the app, my phone's my regular phone. If I open the app, then I'm going to see what opportunities there are for me to make money, right?
Correct, yeah. And you can turn on, everything's optional. Nothing is like, the more you do, the more you earn. The less you do, the less you earn. And if you want to, you can just delete our software. It's like everything's opt-in. And really all we're really doing, it's like, it's this general idea of like, giving people that optionality, of like, hey, you're going to do these things anyways. And it's not that every consumer is my target market. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like we've really focused a lot on like budget conscious consumers. And if you actually look at the broader market category, there's about 7 billion smartphones in the world, about 1 billion of which are actually iPhones. Everything else is like Android generally in other markets. And so it's a very, very large market, right? And so, that's kind of like the general idea of, how we're creating those opportunities for these people to earn and save.
Now, we have companies that advertise on our website. And by the way, I forgot to mention this at the beginning. Dan's company advertises on our website too. I just want to be fully transparent. And I'm also a shareholder in Dan's company. We're going to talk about that in a minute.
But, well, thank you, sir.
But anyway, something else I want to ask you. Does this go on iPhone or is it just Android?
So we are not on iPhone at the moment, but it's a conscious decision, right? At the end of the day, like we had an iPhone product at one point in time, but what we found is like, the average person that's buying an iPhone, these are like that $1,000 to $2,000 devices, right? And is that who our target market user is? And, we wanted to focus first on Android, and now we're starting to explore what an iPhone product will look like, mostly by, supporting web and things of that nature. But we started out on the Android ecosystem because that's where we saw those sub $150, $200 devices as, the main category of people that were there.
Okay. Now, what I was going to ask you, though, was on our website, we have advertisers that say, if you play this game, you'll get paid.
Yeah.
Play solitaire, get paid. We have people that advertise on our site with things like that. I've never done it. But isn't that the same sort of thing that you're doing?
It depends on what those games are. sometimes those are skill-based games where it's like, you're playing against like 1,000 other people and it's like a tournament. Sometimes those are ad-driven mechanics. And it's possible. Like what we do is like, we also might aggregate some of those players into our ecosystem, right? In terms of those apps. So, because what my goal as a business is like, we call it the Earn OS, like an earning operating system. The goal is I want to put the most amount of money back in your pocket, right? That's fundamentally what my underlying goal is, because that's what creates a great ecosystem for you and value for the user. And so the idea is whether it's a grocery rewards app or a shopping app like Rakuten, I don't really look at them as competitors. They're kind of like, they're in our space, but I'm not necessarily doing exactly that. And I could expose you to that app. They're still going to pay us a certain percentage to expose that to you. But what do you get? You get savings, across everywhere. And so at the end of the day, we're able to facilitate that for you.
if I had an Android phone, could I download this app right now? It doesn't cost anything, right?
It doesn't cost anything. And, at the end of the day, like, people can download it. It's had over 45 million or so installs on the app side of it on Android. And, the companies, we have a lot of investors actually that are, we have almost nearly 40,000 shareholders now, and so we've been quite successful in, really people believing in this mission of really.
So 45 million downloads you've gotten on the app.
Yes. Yeah. Around.
That's 40. A ton.
It's a lot. Yeah.
And I would assume that you're making money.
Yes. I mean, the company's done, I don't know, we're probably approaching, we're definitely north of 70 million, like around 17 million, north of 70 million in revenue. We also had a tremendous amount of revenue growth. Like we were ranked the number one fastest growing software company in North America by Deloitte. We grew 32,481% in revenue in 2023. That was a ranking that we got. And this year we are targeting to be EBITDA positive, with a mid 8-figure revenue number as well. So
what's the bottom line though? Are you profitable?
Yeah. So December was our first month that we hit profitability EBITDA wise, and this year we're targeting about 2 million EBITDA. That's what we're targeting.
I'm surprised you're not bootstrapping. Because why raise money from the public when you're making,
So I think that's a great question. So I think the right way to think about it is we reserved our ticker, to go with a goal of taking Mode public. Okay? So we have the Mode ticker symbol now, and that gives us that for 2 years essentially we have that granted to us with Nasdaq. But in terms of why we chose crowdfunding as this mechanism is like, if it's a multi-billion-dollar opportunity, right? If more, right? We see it as a very big, something that we essentially are creating a new category of device. We basically have taken the fundamentals. Like if you think about companies like Facebook, they refer to the people that use Facebook as users. We basically take the paradigm and turn users into earners, right? And now we're in the process of taking earners and turning them into what we call owners, right? And so our whole idea is really to build community. How can you allow your consumer base that is also earning on your product to become owners in that product? And I think if you actually look at the best companies in the world, I'm talking about the companies that have the highest, PE ratio, like of earnings, in that sense, like Tesla's like 195-1, or Ford is like 10-1. Why? Elon Musk has a cult following, right? They have good financials.
Yeah,
you have to have good financials. But if you have a great community, you have people that back you and believe in what you believe, they're going to invest in that. And that's going to have that, what we call it, the social capital multiplier. Same thing with like, Berkshire Hathaway, it's like he has great financials, but, he sells out a stadium for his shareholder. It's an honor to go to that.
Yeah, sure.
And so I think like the way we've been thinking about it is, if Apple came to you and was like, they don't do this, but I've been thinking about it in a very different way where I was like, if Apple basically had a program that was like, hey, if you own $100,000 in shares in Apple, you get Apple products first. You get 30% off. You get to come to our Worldwide Developer Conference. And if you have over $10 million, you get to meet Tim Cook or something. I don't know. The point is, would you be more inspired to buy $100,000 in Apple versus maybe $20,000 in Apple? And what would that do to their stock price? And so I've been thinking more about it in this way of like, take your consumer, mash it up with stockholders, bring that all together. And that's what creates great companies, because you have to have great financials. But if you can have a great community too, and people believing in what you believe, you can create great opportunity. And so we have a very big vision, and that's why we decided to do the capital raising.
But now, this doesn't seem like, and well, neither does Facebook. It doesn't seem like it's that capital intensive because, like I said, neither does Facebook. Facebook doesn't create a product. They just have software. Yeah. But they have tons and tons of it and giant buildings with servers and, thousands and thousands of people curating and everything like that. Is this, I mean, how many employees does your business have?
We have about 70 team members.
Okay, 70 is not that many, but it's not that little either.
Yeah.
Now, we've only got my producers in my ear telling me we don't have a lot more time. How do I invest in this company from doing this podcast, but how do you invest in Mode Mobile?
So you can go to invest.modemobile.com. It's our main investor site. You can learn everything about it. You can invest as little as $1,000 on it. It really just depends on, the scale of what you want to invest. But, or you could be a user of the product and, become an earner and then essentially redeem your points.
It seems like that's what you'd want to do first, right? Use the product and then once you see how it works for you, then you can decide whether you want to be an investor or not.
And but we have a lot of people that aren't necessarily, they're iPhone users or they're, not necessarily a target market. Like, and, they're open to doing that. So we have actually a lot of people that are, 50, 60, 70 years old that maybe don't really use their phone very much, but they see what's happened in this industry or how their kids use phone. And they like, that's a good idea, So, we have that happening as well a lot. But to go back to answer your question about just like kind of capital intensiveness and whatnot, it's like, I think fundamentally the way that we grow our business is like, there's an acquisition cost, right, to get a consumer. And fortunately for us, like we have a very good payback window, within 45 days, typically we see a 100% payback period. But the more we can do that and bring on more customers, obviously, there's a capital flow that ultimately kind of happens.
That makes total sense. Because you advertise on our site, and so I'm sure you're doing that with lots and lots of other sites, and that I'm sure that advertising is a very expensive item on your income statement.
It definitely is. Yes, it's one of the biggest.
Acquisition. Yeah. We charge you guys money. People with websites, so that's expensive. Okay, so I think we're just about out of time. Let me. I want to mention this to everyone and make this very clear. Investing in stocks in general is risky. Investing in startups is even riskier. So do not say because Stacy owns a stock, I need to own the stock or anything like that. Try the product out and see what you think of it. And Dan, I want to ask you one more question. And I don't want to get too far in the weeds. We really don't have much time. When I'm buying it now, am I not diluting the shareholders that have already bought it?
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
no, it does make sense. As the company grows, and more money comes in, obviously more dilution occurs. However, in theory, if things are going well, and the company's growing, you're able to ingest that money, invest in it, in the business, and grow that business. So, it's like, would I rather own 100% of, $1 million, or would I rather own 10% or of $1 billion? It's like, I rather own 10% of $1 billion because that's 100 million effective. So it's kind of that idea. And I think that's kind of also the bootstrapper mentality versus the scale up mentality. And I think for us internally, we see this as, and me, I see this as a moonshot kind of business. And, I think that it's, we want to grow sustainably though. I mean, that's a big component. I think we've made mistakes in the past where it's like you grow at all costs. The market used to really reward that in 2022. You saw all those IPOs that were happening. Now the market really is focused on sustainable growth. And that's a big focus for us, but we want to do that intelligently, grow, but grow, without incinerating cash. I think that's the goal.
When is your plan on going public? In an ideal world, I understand you can't make projections that are going to be guaranteed accurate.
So it's not, I would say we have that the reservation for 24 months, essentially, from that period of time. I think the thing that you have to think about when you're going public, it's like there's a certain level that you want to get to from a revenue standpoint. Usually north of $100 million, you're at least seeing double-digit EBITDA numbers. I think is important in this market. And you want to make sure that the market in general is good for it. But I think those are kind of the things that we're thinking of, and we're in the process of starting to look at other assets that we're sometimes also acquiring and bringing into our ecosystem. So that could be like a utility app or other things, because, if you think about the model that I even explained to you a second ago with Candy Crush, Candy Crush is a multi-billion dollar business. It's very unlikely that I'm going to buy that business anytime soon. But there are a lot of smaller apps. It could be a photo filtering app. It could be a little game. It could be whatever it is, like a solitaire thing, that are smaller developer companies. Maybe they're making $3 million, $5 million in revenue. It's a product that they own, and we could basically bring that in, acquire that asset, and bring it into our ecosystem. And now we're buying that cash flow, exposing another product to our user base.
Yeah.
And so we're actually kind of looking at that kind of roll up PE strategy as a whole for our business in the future.
Or getting rolled up yourself.
It could be. I mean, we're always looking at what the other opportunities are in the market, be intelligent for, and doing what's best for our investor base. But we do see an opportunity, and, we're also creating we've invested a lot, and also being, it's almost like a practicing to be a public company, when you're doing the Reg A, probably, if you're an investor, you probably get our monthly investor reports, you get, kind of like what we're doing with webinars, where you have an investor club. And so we're really kind of prepping of what it looks like to kind of create this new vision of what a public company could look like in the future.
I like this. This is good. I mean, what I'm hearing is, and this probably isn't at all what you're saying, but what I'm hearing is I've been an investor for 45 years. You're basically, you can't go public immediately because your company's not big enough. So what you're doing is you're bringing in people, advertising to get more people, and getting enough users and showing enough revenue where you become a public company. I think it's brilliant. Oh, and now I'm getting a hard rap in my ear. Okay. Dan, it was certainly... Now, one more thing, folks. Download the app, look at it. I assume they can look at the financial statements on, what is it called? Invest.mode.com?
invest.modemobile.com. And that'll have all the information, have the offering statement, the financials. Yeah, you should definitely read the offering memorandum on the SEC website. And the easiest place to do that would be on the invest.modemobile.com website.
Awesome. Dan, I will look forward to riding in your Rolls-Royce limousine with you.
Amazing.
The next time I'm on the other side of Florida. That's what you're in Tampa, right?
Naples area, yeah.
Naples. Okay. I will actually, I'll be expecting your helicopter to pick me up and take me to your Rolls-Royce.
Oh my God.
You're a good guy. I wish you the best of luck. And I'm an investor. I hope you get rich because I'll get rich too.
Amazing.
Dan, thanks so much for being here. And you folks at home, be sure, remember, risky stuff. Read the financials, use the product, then make a decision whether this is something you want to do or not. And also, be sure and stay tuned for all of our podcasts. Tell your friends, tell your family. We'd love to have you. We'll see you soon. Bye, folks.